Hello. Today we're going to explore the plot of Season 2 of the 2025 series The Last of Us. Those who survived the cordyceps fungus infection are trying to return to normal life. However, past sins continue to haunt them, and those seeking revenge are ready to unleash real carnage. The second season begins in Salt Lake City. A group of fireflies led by Abby mourn their fallen comrades after the attack on the hospital. They plan to find other fireflies and then track down the one responsible, Joel, and punish him brutally. Harsh post-apocalyptic arithmetic. One smuggler minus many scientists equals Ellie alive. The story jumps 5 years ahead. Ellie lives in the Jackson community, spending her free time not on public service but in sparring sessions with a man who deliberately goes easy on her. Joel is visited by Dina, Ellie's friend, to discuss why the girl is angry with her adoptive father. Joel suspects the reason is just adolescence. He himself attends sessions with a psychotherapist named Gail, a profession more necessary than ever in post-apocalyptic times. But Joel keeps it a secret. Real men don't complain about problems, they solve them. Though Gail's competence raises doubts, how can you trust a woman who once forgot her son at home on Christmas? During a hunt for infected with Uncle Tommy, Joel's brother, Ellie asks to join the mountain patrol, even though her father wants to assign her a safer position. Tommy gives in, promising to send her on a daytime shift instead of a night one. Dina comes to Ellie. It's time for guard duty. Jesse conducts a briefing, reminding them, in case of danger, don't act like a hero, return to base for reinforcements. After that, the mounted squad sets off, splitting into two groups. The girls lag behind and notice blood stains. The squad plans to report back, but Ellie wants to investigate. Together with Dina, they reach a supermarket where they find a mutilated bear and bodies of the infected. The girls assume that surviving infected are hiding inside the store. Leaving the others to keep watch, the girls sneak into the mall through a window on the roof, passing a toppled mutant. The alert patrol moves quietly toward the sound. Ellie distracts one infected with an empty bottle, then approaches and finishes it off with a knife. While moving toward the exit, she falls through the floor. On the first level, all the exits are locked and firearms can't be used in this location to break the locks. While Dina climbs down using a rope, Ellie hears a suspicious noise. She doesn't notice a silent mutant crawling between the shelves. Seeing the stalker, Ellie calls to provoke an attack, but it doesn't respond. Judging by the gleam in its eyes, it can see, not just navigate by sound. Instead of attacking, the mutant hides. Ellie realizes that she's encountered a new type of infected, one that is more intelligent than the others. Sensing danger, Ellie turns and shoots, but the shot is useless. The mutant flanks her and knocks her off her feet. Losing her weapon, Ellie fights back hand to hand. One of the mutants bites her, but she manages to grab the pistol from her holster and calms the walking fungus with an accurate shot. At that moment, Dina appears. Back at the settlement, Ellie reports the new type of infected. If this mutant wasn't unique, an invasion of intelligent infected could pose a serious threat. The adults don't forget that the girls violated patrol rules. Ellie, disinfecting her knife with alcohol, makes a cut on her stomach, carefully along the edge of the bite, and masks the mark with scarring to hide the bite wound. Later, Joel asks if Ellie will go out to celebrate the new year. But the holiday spirit isn't everywhere. People light sparklers and grill barbecue. In a large barn, there's dancing with live music and drinks. There, Ellie finds Dina dancing with Jesse, Dina's ex-boyfriend. Later, while the community celebrates, Ellie walks home. On the porch, she sees Joel strumming his guitar. But because of her teenage resentment, she silently walks past him. Meanwhile, in a plumbing pipe clogged with overgrown plants, mutated fungi begin to move. But cordyceps isn't the only threat. From the forest, a group led by Abby emerges. They look at the lights of the settlement spread out below. The fireflies stop at a mountain cabin, a convenient place from which to observe Jackson. In the morning, Abby keeps watch from a cliffside while the others plan. The only problem is, they don't know what Joel looks like. Ellie is set to patrol with Jesse. She wants to go with Joel, but he has already left with Dina. The situation escalates. One of the patrols ran into a trap. Infected with fungus were hiding under the snow, using their frozen comrades as insulation. As soon as the riders left the gates, a snowstorm began. Radio communication nearly stopped working. Jesse shows Ellie a hidden spot in an abandoned town where they can wait out the storm. They hide their horses and take shelter in a building that was once a greenhouse. Frozen, Abby spots two riders. She heads downhill but slips, tumbling down the slope. She ends up among frozen infected. But bad luck. The snow begins to shift, freeing those hidden beneath the first layer. A horde of infected charges after Abby. She barely makes it to a fenced area and climbs over the wall using a ladder, but the crowd breaks through the wire fence, nearly trapping her. Abby is almost free when an infected jumps her. She is saved from death by a stranger, Joel. Abby realizes she's found her father's killer. When Dina calls him by name, the infected continue to break through. Abby suggests hiding in a cabin with her friends. The survivors ride there on horseback, pursued by a horde of infected. At this moment, Ellie receives a signal from the town. Joel has disappeared. She and Jesse decide to split up to find him. On their route, the horde suddenly changes direction. It's being led by an infected that infiltrated Jackson through the water supply system. Tommy gives the order to prepare for defense. Women, children, and the elderly hide in basements, while the rest take up defensive positions. The residents prepare barrels of fuel on the walls. When the infected rush in, the barrels are dropped and shot at, spilling flammable liquid. It is then set on fire, creating a wall of flame. Tommy notices that the horde is changing tactics. They plan to break through the defense using a bloater, a monster in the final stage of infection, covered in a fungal armor. When it breaks through the fence, the infected scatter through the streets. Snipers try to hold them off from rooftops, but the mutants reach them too, taking down defenders. Tommy grabs a flamethrower and sees the bloater targeting his wife Maria. To draw its attention away, he distracts the monster. Tommy lures the fungal giant into a dead end and prepares the flamethrower, but fire only slows the bloater down. It doesn't destroy it. When the fuel runs out, Tommy braces for a final blow, but the monster collapses, burned. The townspeople successfully fend off the attack, finishing off the remaining infected, including those who had been bitten. Meanwhile, Joel and Dina watch the fire in the city from a hill, but Abby convinces them to go to the shelter. There, they take Dina hostage to disarm Joel. The girl is given a sedative. The act of revenge begins. Abby hints to Joel that this is retribution for the destruction of the fireflies. While Abby brutally avenges her father, Ellie follows the horse tracks. She sneaks into the shelter but is caught, knocked down, and forced to watch as Joel is finished off. Abby delivers the final blow. Then the fireflies, after threatening Ellie, leave. Ellie crawls to her adoptive father. Jesse, together with Dina, finds her in this state and brings Joel's shrouded body back to Jackson. 3 months pass. Jackson is gradually recovering. During all this time, Ellie stayed in the hospital. Returning home, she finds a box from Uncle Tommy containing Joel's watch and revolver. Drawing the logical conclusion that with the gun and confidence she can protect herself, Ellie takes the weapon. Dina comes to visit. She confesses that she has been hiding the truth all this time. She knows exactly who killed Joel and where to find them. Abby's group, former Fireflies, now belongs to the military faction WLF, the Washington Liberation Front. They're also known as the Wolves. Ellie and her friend go to Tommy to persuade him to organize a punitive expedition, but Tommy says that such a decision requires the entire council's approval. He promises to support his niece. That evening, Jesse advises Ellie to prepare a speech for the council meeting. The next day, at a town assembly, everyone expresses their opinion. Some believe using resources for revenge is unwise. Others argue that leaving the attack unpunished is even worse, because then anyone will think they can act that way without consequences. Ellie herself, reading a prepared speech from a piece of paper, doesn't call for revenge. She speaks about justice, for Jackson's sake. After the debates, the council members vote. The vast majority, 8-3, decide that sending 16 fighters under current conditions is too much of a luxury. In the evening at home, Ellie prepares weapons and gear for the journey when there's a knock at the door. It's Dina. She has come to help. Dina already has a plan, including gear, supplies, and a route. After discussing it, the friends agree to meet at the gates during the night. At night, Ellie is already waiting at the designated spot. Dina arrives with 2 horses and an older man who also seeks justice. He gives Ellie his rifle. It's better. While the patrol isn't watching, the girls ride away from the safe town on 1 horse. In the morning, they reach the cemetery where Joel is buried. Ellie says goodbye to her adoptive father under the first rays of the sun. Then she and Dina head towards Seattle, avoiding highways and large settlements, moving through rugged terrain. After several days of traveling through picturesque landscapes, they come across signs of a massacre. Someone has brutally slaughtered a group of religious fanatics. Suspecting it might have been the Wolves, former Fireflies now part of the WLF faction, the girls press on. Soon they find themselves on an overgrown highway littered with rusted cars. Before them rises a metropolis slowly being reclaimed by nature. Skyscrapers overgrown with ivy, cracked roads, and crumbling concrete. The girls are relieved that no one is shooting at them, unaware that elsewhere in the city, a WLF convoy with armored vehicles is on the move. The story shifts to 2018, to the Seattle quarantine zone controlled by FEDRA, the Federal Disaster Response Agency. Sergeant Isaac Dixon receives a report about WLF activity, a faction challenging the government's authority. Isaac proposes to start negotiations and orders the others to wait in the armored vehicle. He takes along an idealist, Burton, the only one who had seriously questioned why FEDRA stripped civilians of all their rights. Meeting with the WLF leader, Hanrahan, the sergeant returns to his squad and tosses grenades into the vehicle, thus switching sides. A stunned Burton raises his weapon at him, but the sergeant offers him a choice, a luxury almost no one has anymore. In 2025, Dina searches a pharmacy while Ellie keeps watch. The girl notices something but doesn't tell her friend. They later wander the streets of Seattle, scattered with the remnants of old battles and corpses in FEDRA uniforms. Spotting a tank, Ellie climbs on it with excitement, but inside are only more remnants of the past. On the horizon they see a massive antenna marked WLF. It could be the base where the ones they're looking for are hiding. Ellie wants to act immediately, but Dina warns her that the sentries will spot them from afar. So they decide to wait until dark. As a hiding place, they choose an old music store. While exploring the building, Ellie finds a well-preserved guitar in a case on the second floor. Remembering Joel's lessons, she takes out the instrument and plays a song from memory. Meanwhile, Isaac interrogates a captured Seraphite, a member of the religious cult that the WLF call Scars. These two groups have been enemies for a long time, often brutally wiping each other out. Isaac wants to learn about the fanatics' plans. The prisoner notes that many soldiers are deserting the WLF to join the faith, while Seraphites almost never switch to the Wolves' side. Realizing the interrogation will yield no results, the sergeant decides to end it fatally. As night falls, Ellie and Dina sneak toward the building with the antenna. They enter through a broken window. Someone has already passed through here. They find the body of a WLF guard pierced with arrows, and a bit further, a room with more bodies, likely other WLF members. Ellie notices a message, "Feel her love," the sign of the same cult whose victims they had come across in the forest. On one of the corpses, Dina finds a radio tuned to the WLF frequency. The wolves arrive at the scene. Too late. While the WLF searches the building, Ellie climbs the stairs. One of the soldiers follows, forcing her to act from an ambush. Despite the enemy's physical advantage, Ellie fights back. In a critical moment, a second soldier appears and aims at Ellie, but is shot in the back and collapses. It's Dina, covering her friend. Outside, the girls flee through a narrow passage blocked with rubble. It leads into the subway tunnel. Soldiers follow them down, but don't catch them in time. Infected appear in the darkness. The girls hide inside train cars, climbing through the roof to get in. Infected pursue them, forcing them to push forward through the train. In the front car, they climb out onto the roof again, locking the enemies inside. But not all the infected stayed on the train. Others continue the chase. Climbing over a fence, the girls run toward the exit. They get stuck in an old revolving door, and at that moment, one of the infected catches up to them. To save Dina, Ellie puts her arm in harm's way and kills the attacker. Once outside, the girls barricade the entrance. Ellie suggests they find shelter, but Dina worries that her friend might be infected and grips her pistol tighter. Inside a nearby building, Dina points her gun at Ellie. She wants to make sure it's safe. Ellie confesses she is immune. To prove it, Ellie lies down to sleep, allowing Dina to stay by her side. Upon waking, she shows her bandaged wound. There are no signs of infection. Convinced Ellie is okay, Dina confesses she's pregnant. She found several tests at the pharmacy. All came back positive. Suddenly, they hear WLF communications over the radio. They're calling for Nora to report on an attack by the Scars. The wounded are being taken to Lake Hill Hospital. Remembering that Nora was with Abby, the girls climb to the roof to get their bearings. Before them, a panorama of the city. In the distance, on empty streets, explosions and battles can be heard. At Lake Hill, WLF Commander Hanrahan talks to a sergeant who led the basement sweep. The first level was clear, no infected. She sent in a squad under her son's command. In his last message, he reported that cordyceps was everywhere and the air was contaminated. He advised sealing the doors to stop the infection from spreading. That's exactly what they did. The doors were bricked shut. Dinah listens to the intercepted radio chatter and marks patrol routes on a map. She identifies a safe path to the hospital. Ellie, finding a generator, restores the power supply. In the light of the lamps, they realize they're in an old theater. On stage, musical instruments, including a guitar, which Ellie once again picks up. Dina calls her friend. She wants to show her the plan. Having calculated the patrol routes, she suggests using a window when the WLF bypasses a large building, likely a warehouse. Ellie is thrilled. She proposes they head out immediately to make it there before nightfall. They walk through overgrown streets, talking. In the darkness, the girls approach the target building, avoiding the patrol spotlights. Inside, it becomes quiet. They no longer need to crouch away from the light. Ellie scouts a neighboring room, but no one is there. Assuming that if there had been a horde of infected inside, the patrols would have drawn their attention long ago, Dina suggests they move on. But first, she reminds Ellie, no shooting, so as not to alert the WLF soldiers. There are only two options, either run or act quietly and carefully. Exiting into a spacious hall, they notice several infected who clearly aren't the blind, uncontrollable kind. These are mutants with developed vision and basic intelligence, like the one that attacked Ellie in the supermarket. Realizing the enemy's numerical superiority, Ellie orders Dina to hide in a cage while she distracts the creatures. She may be immune to the bite, but the danger is still serious. But the plan quickly falls apart. Ellie runs out of bullets, and the monsters keep coming. In a critical moment, unexpected help arrives, a shotgun blast. It's Jesse. The guy had parked nearby and rushed to save his friends. WLF patrols are already chasing them and open fire. Jesse leads Ellie and Dina into an overgrown park where soldiers don't dare follow. They're wary of an old mansion. There, Jesse explains that he went searching along with Tommy. At the theater, they found a map with a marked route and now want to bring the girls back to Jackson. Venturing deeper into the park, the trio understands why the WLF avoids this place. The park belongs to the Seraphite cult. From the bushes, they see fanatics executing a person. Suddenly, an arrow hits Dina's leg. A Seraphite patrol is on alert. Ellie orders Jesse to carry the wounded Dina to safety, while she runs the other way to distract the enemy. After escaping the park, she doesn't return to the theater. She knows they won't let her finish what she set out to do. Ellie sneaks toward Lake Hill Hospital, slipping inside through a hole in the wall, avoiding guards. There, she tracks down Nora. She wants to find out where Abby is. Nora says she doesn't know exactly where Abby is and reminds Ellie that she herself was spared that day. Unlike Joel, she was innocent. She regrets that Ellie had to go through all this, but insists that Joel truly deserved to die. Taking advantage of the moment, Nora splashes water at Ellie and escapes, raising the alarm. She jumps into an elevator shaft and hides on the basement level. Ellie goes after her. Below, she sees a true kingdom of cordyceps. Wolves who descended earlier have already become part of it. Fungal spores are spreading from their bodies. Catching up to the exhausted and infected Nora, Ellie learns that she knows who Ellie is. Nora recognizes her as the same immune child who was supposed to help create a cure for humanity. She tells Ellie that Joel took hope away from the world when he killed Abby's father, who was working on the vaccine. Ellie admits she knows that, but she doesn't care. The story shifts to the past. Shortly after arriving in Jackson, Joel prepares a surprise for Ellie, a birthday cake. She turns 15. While waiting for her to come home, he prepares her gift, a guitar. But Ellie's return is overshadowed. She has burned her hand in the kitchen. In truth, she did it on purpose, to hide the bite marks. No one is supposed to know she's immune. The next morning, Joel gives her the cake and the guitar, playing a song for her. A year later, when Ellie turns 16, Joel takes her into the overgrown wilderness. On the way, Ellie asks for permission to go on patrols. Joel replies that she's still too young, then shows her the surprise, a dinosaur statue. But the surprises don't end there. The next stop, a museum. Inside, there's an exhibit dedicated to space exploration. The Apollo 15 capsule is on display. Joel suggests sitting inside it, But first, they need to find a helmet. To get one, Ellie breaks the glass of one of the exhibits. Once inside the capsule, Joel plays an audio cassette, a recording of NASA Mission Control communications. Ellie listens to the song with her eyes closed, imagining two things at once: that she's flying into space and that she belongs there. On the way back, the girl notices fireflies fluttering around. They remind her of Salt Lake City. Another year passes, and on her 17th birthday, Joel brings another birthday cake. He finds his daughter in a room with her friend. The girls are giving each other tattoos. This leads to an expected argument. Offended, Ellie decides to move into the barn. The noise she makes dragging a mattress in the middle of the night wakes Joel. Eventually, they talk, calm down, and reconcile. In the morning, Joel goes to Gail, the psychologist, for advice, and Ellie quietly packs her things and moves into the barn. 2 years go by. On the morning of her 19th birthday, Ellie writes a list of questions for Joel about what really happened in Salt Lake City when the Fireflies planned to make a vaccine from her. She suspects he lied but wants to hear it confirmed from his own mouth. Joel finally invites her on her first patrol, something the girl has dreamed of for a long time. They head out on the simplest route for beginners. During the trip, they receive a distress signal from other watchmen. Joel and Ellie rush to help, but they arrive too late. Near the infected bodies, they find a horse dragging a man. One of the patrol members, Eugene, the husband of psychologist Gail, has been bitten. Joel wants to follow protocol and eliminate the infected man to prevent the spread of the infection. But Eugene asks to use his remaining hours to say goodbye to his wife. Ellie convinces Joel to grant him that wish. He promises her not to kill Eugene while she goes to bring the horses. But when they disappear into the forest, Joel leads the infected man to the lake. Eugene realizes he has been deceived. Joel doesn't want to risk the entire settlement for the sake of one watchman. He kills Eugene. Coming down from the mountain, Ellie finds her father near the body. Joel lies to Gail, telling her that her husband died heroically in battle. But a furious Ellie tells her the truth. After that, the girl stops speaking to him. Joel begins attending therapy with Gail, who eventually partially forgives him. This continues until New Year's Eve. After returning from a party, Ellie finally dares to speak to Joel. She says she figured out his lie long ago, but wants to hear the truth about Salt Lake City. Joel admits the scientists really did want to sacrifice her life to create a vaccine, and he stopped them, killed everyone and saved her. And if he had to do it all over again, he would do the same. Ellie replies that he had no right to make that decision for her, that he deprived humanity of hope. She says she's not ready to forgive him, but she's trying. The flashback ends, and the story returns to Seattle. After the events at the hospital where Ellie interrogated Nora, she returns to the theater. There, Jesse is trying to help the wounded Dina. Ellie enters with a gun pointed at her. Jesse asks where she's been, but Ellie is more concerned about her friend's condition. She confesses that she found Nora and made her talk. The next day, leaving Dina to rest, Jesse and Ellie head to a planned meeting point with Tommy. On the way, Jesse says that he and Tommy set out from Jackson right after the girls went missing and have been combing through Seattle, splitting up. Jesse also slyly finds out that Dina is pregnant with his child and accuses Ellie of dragging her friend into a dangerous adventure for the sake of personal revenge. On their way, they stumble upon a WLF unit that has captured a young Seraphite. Ellie wants to help, but Jesse insists they stay out of it. He says it's not their war, especially since the fanatics are known to be cruel even to children. Meanwhile, at the WLF base, Isaac asks where Abby and her squad have gone. He's worried that after his death, there will be no one left to lead the organization. Abby is the only one with the leadership qualities and strength of character to become his successor. Ellie and Jesse arrive at the bookstore, the designated meeting point with Tommy, but he isn't there. While they wait, they discuss themes of selfishness, responsibility, and apathy. Jesse confesses that a few years ago, he fell in love with a girl from a traveling caravan but didn't go with her because the settlement needed him. In contrast, he believes Ellie avoids responsibility and thinks she's allowed to do whatever she wants. Upon hearing a message over the radio about a shootout nearby, they suspect it might be Tommy. Climbing onto the roof, they scout the area. Ellie realizes that Abby is most likely hiding in the aquarium across the bay. She wants to go there, while Jesse is focused on saving Tommy. Another conflict flares up between them, and they part ways. That night, Ellie makes her way to the pier in search of a boat. She witnesses WLF troops, led by Isaac, loading supplies onto boats as they set off toward the island inhabited by the Seraphites, fanatics also known as Scars. Ellie unties one of the boats and starts crossing the bay. However, a massive wave disrupts her plans. It knocks her overboard, and the boat continues drifting away. Ellie washes up on the shore of the Seraphite island. There, the Seraphites capture her and drag her into the forest, where a noose has already been prepared for a public execution as a form of demonstrative punishment. Ellie's claims that she is not a member of the WLF don't help. It seems like her story might end there, but suddenly a warning alarm sounds. Isaac's troops have attacked the village. The Seraphites rush to defend their settlement, leaving Ellie alone. Returning to the shore, she finds her boat and sets out for the aquarium. Reaching the location, she sneaks into the building. Following signs of human presence, Ellie creeps through the hallways with a pistol in hand. Spotting tracks leading into the back rooms, she turns off her flashlight to avoid giving herself away and quietly enters. There, she finds two members of Abby's group, Owen and Mel. Holding them at gunpoint, Ellie demands that each of them show her on a map where Abby is hiding. She wants to compare their answers to catch any lies. Owen warns his friend that the stranger won't let them live anyway, then tries to take the initiative and reaches for a weapon. Ellie shoots first. Mel begins to lose a lot of blood, and when her jacket is opened, it's revealed. She is pregnant. As she's dying, she begs Ellie to save the baby, but the shocked girl has no time to react. Suddenly, Jesse and Tommy appear. They join forces and come to Ellie's aid. Devastated by the events, Ellie realizes that in her thirst for revenge, she's begun to turn into the very kind of person she once despised. Returning to the theater, they start planning the journey back to Jackson. Ellie thanks Jesse for his help, admitting that in some ways, he was right about her. Suddenly, a suspicious noise comes from the adjacent room. Everyone rushes toward it, and just as Jesse opens the door, he's shot. He drops instantly. It's Abby. She tracked them from the aquarium, coming to avenge her friends. Pointing her gun at Tommy, she demands that Ellie come out of hiding. Remembering how she once spared Ellie's life, Abby decides not to repeat that mistake. She points her pistol at Ellie. A shot rings out. The screen goes black. The story jumps back 3 days, to the day Ellie and Dina had just arrived in Seattle. At this moment, Abby is at the WLF base, in the middle of the stadium. This is where the second season ends. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.